cabinet members, or cabinet member, I should say, rather than members. So, warm welcome to everybody, and I'll kick the meeting off with item 1 on the agenda, and ask Liz if she's got any apologies for absence, please.
We haven't received any apologies today, Chair.
Okay, in that case, next thing I'll do, I'll ask members in the room to identify themselves for the benefit of those who are online. Councillor Paxton Howard-Williams, chairing this meeting for a change.
Liz Jordan, Scrutiny Officer.
Julie Davies, Head of Child and Family Services.
Louise Gibbard, Cabinet Member, Care Services.
Councillor Wendy Lewis, Wenaloedd Ward.
Thank you. And Wendy's a long way away, so I just managed to indicate to her that she needed to say something, but there you go. Item 2 is disclosures of interest. I don't know if anybody has any interest that they feel they need to declare at the moment. Not seeing any hands up. So item 3 is a prohibition of whip votes and declaration of party whips. Not as much as I'm going to say on that, I think. Item 4 is a minute of the previous meeting. Obviously, you've had the opportunity to go through those minutes, have a look at them, and type yourselves where they were at it, and ask any questions from them if you want to. So first of all, anybody unhappy with the accuracy of those minutes? No, I can't see any hands going up there, so in that case, I assume that you'll approve those minutes on that basis. I don't know if anything's got any matters arising from them. I didn't pick up anything myself or any queries. Again, can't see any hands, so again, I'll move on to the letters. Obviously, one letter to Louise, I think it was, and you'll have seen that anyway. Which moves us on very quickly to item 6, which is public question time. I don't know if we've had any questions. I'd be very surprised if we have.
We haven't received any questions, Chair.
Fabulous. And item 7 is a briefing on the target operating model. And who's going to lead first? Louise?
Yeah, thank you. If I can just introduce, and then I'm sure Julie will be able to give a lot more detail. So it's really useful to bring this to the panel today. I know in sort of recent months we've been talking a lot about our target operating model. These have been developed across social services for adults, for child and family, and for commissioning and resources. And so these were developed during our budget setting processes, and they're about describing our future state and how the service is going to operate to achieve these strategic objectives, focusing on our people, processes, systems, technology and structures. So hopefully, as you're all aware, our vision in child and family services is about doing what matters to make things better for children, young people and families. And our ambitions include supporting families earlier, enabling children and families to live their best lives together, reducing statutory intervention and the number of children in care, shortening the period of time children spend in care, valuing our staff and maintaining manageable caseloads, building resilience to changes in grant funding and minimising staff vacancy levels. So the 3-year transformation plan is built around 3 elements: people, permanence and prevention, and each with their associated priority actions. So under people, we are refreshing our workforce strategy, looking at how our social work academy is going from strength to strength, and also apprenticeships, developing tools to improve our staff well-being, and making sure that there are good progression and development opportunities. In terms of permanence, that's permanence for young children and young people. We are looking to, as we've discussed in previous panels, grow our in-house residential care and collaborate with not-for-profit providers as the Welsh Government's Eliminate strategy comes in. Also recruiting more foster carers and supporting our special guardians and kinship carers. And then obviously a key focus is on prevention. So reviewing our well-established early help model making sure we've got the right kind of support for disabled children and carers, developing a new city centre hub for young people, and looking how to develop our educare support and our transition from children to adult services. As I think you're aware, our services are designed across 3 levels of need, so support, care and support, and accommodation, care and support, and the aspiration is to provide more around that support and care, reducing the need for higher levels of statutory intervention. So our projections are that hopefully we'll have more children and families supported by prevention and early intervention, and fewer children therefore on the child protection register or looked after. The key deliverables for this year include reducing our social worker vacancy rates from 50% to 8% in supported care planning teams, the digital developments that we've been looking at, reducing administrative burden for practitioners, and things like Magic Notes and Copilot have been really developed to really good effect. Making sure we've got good progression routes for our staff in youth work and in residential services. Increasing our in-house fostering provision and residential beds. We've talked a lot about that. As I just mentioned, strengthening our prevention and early help hubs and integrated teams, and enhancing support for families and children to remain safely at home. Obviously, there are risks and issues along with the strategy. We've talked before about eliminate profit and that extended transition period for private providers, which might increase costs and the uncertainty in the external market for commissioned care. But we're confident that we're doing all we can to sort of mitigate that. Our capital projects do rely on support from corporate services, building services, that kind of thing, which, as we know, are very stretched on a lot of projects across the city. So it's a lot to kind of coordinate there. The new IT systems, to replacement for Wikis, etc., is obviously a risk. We've mentioned about the city centre hub, and obviously staffing is always an issue. Making sure we've got the best workforce and that we can attract and retain that workforce. So hopefully that's a clear explanation and shows our direction of travel, where we're aiming for. And this is obviously the right thing to do to provide the best possible outcomes for the children, young people and families we work with, and for our own workforce, and obviously to make the best use of resources in difficult financial times. So I'm sure Julie will be able to give some more specific detail around any of that and answer any questions that the panel have.
Thank you, Louise. Julie?
Thanks, Chair. The report also contains information around the finances that we're working within, as Louise has just mentioned, in that our annual budget for 25-26 as agreed at full council is just over 77 million, but 20 million of that is external grant funding, and that external grant funding does fund the majority of our prevention and early intervention services. So that's something that I was very mindful of when working with the senior managers, to think about how we deliver our vision and what our aspiration is of where we'd like our services for our children, young people and families, and based on the feedback and their input to helping us design those services, where do we feel we can best be in relation to working best together across the whole of the service, because we have quite a wide ranging offer of services in child and family in Swansea, and breaking that down into steps, so that on page 9 of the pack, where it talks about how our target operating model is constructed across support, care and support, accommodation, care and support. That's within the context of our broader continuum of need that we have for child and family services that we introduced approximately 3 to 4 years ago, which helps explain in very basic terms when to refer into child and family services, as opposed to thinking about, well, could the agency that's supporting the child meet that need, or do we need to bring in early prevention and intervention services from child and family, or does it meet the threshold for statutory intervention? And very much we've had in our minds thinking about how we can minimise the need for statutory intervention, because, as I'm sure you can imagine, statutory intervention is quite intrusive for children and families and should really be used only when it's absolutely necessary, where either the child is suffering or at risk of suffering significant harm, or whether there are no solutions by which we can support the family or wider family for the child to continue to remain living safely at home. So we're really good in Swansea at coming up with creative solutions. within the legislative framework so that we can minimise the statutory intervention that's required for children and families. And then at the bottom of page 9, we then thought about, well, in terms of data, because we bring here quite regularly our performance data reports, where do we think, and these aren't necessarily targets, because it's not always healthy to have targets, for example, of numbers of children on the register, but we do know that within a band, which we contain in the performance report, there's a minimum and a maximum, that knowing the population and the indices and what we know across Swansea, we wouldn't want to fall much outside of that. Otherwise, it's something for us to worry about and think, well, are we making the right decisions? Are we in line with our thresholds? Are we complying with statutory legislation? And so we thought about looking ahead in 3 years' time based on where we're currently at, and to achieve the split of the 48%, 30%, 22% at the top of page 9. What would that equate to in terms of numbers of children that we would expect to see open to early help services? And you can see that it's not too much of a shift, really. At the moment, we've got quite a high number open to early help because we're getting better at counting and understanding where families sit at the level part of the continuum of need. Children in need of care and support, that would be a slightly higher jump, currently at 26%. So that would take a jump up by just about 5%. Child Protection Register, we're not far off that continuum at the moment. I think one of the biggest challenges are going to be, although it's not a very high number, is reducing the numbers of looked after children, and specifically taking you to permanence on, which is paragraph 3.3. Swansea is bucking the national trend with a downward trajectory of its looked after children numbers spanning the last 5 years. The general message that comes out nationally is that looked after children numbers are going up. In Swansea, they're not. But what we are looking very keenly at is shifting the balance of care. So we have more internal provision, both residential and fostering, and less externally commissioned care. That will align very well with Welsh Government's new policy objectives and its new legislation, but also it's better for our children and young people if they're in internal provision, where we can wrap around all of our really great internal services from our adolescent team, our internal therapy service, as just 2 examples. And also we've got some really good, strong support available in our fostering team. Currently, so we're looking for an 85% internal, 15% external. Currently, it's a 66-34 split for the 478 children in care. So that's going to be quite challenging for us to achieve for all the factors that Louise outlined in terms of risks. But we are making some changes to achieve that, which are outlined in the reporting, particularly in relation to changes to our commissioning team, expanding our in-house provision, so having 17 more foster carers, recruiting them every year. We're on target to achieve that this year. Purchasing more properties so that we can expand our in-house provision. We're having some success early on in this year in achieving that. So things are definitely travelling in the right direction for us to achieve our overall vision, but also we have a greater emphasis on working with families earlier and their children, young people, in partnership with other agencies, particularly, for example, schools and health visitors, and then for the adolescents, perhaps more so with local community safety arrangements and the police. But we're confident that with the things that we've put in train, particularly in relation to people, where we created a specialist social worker role, which has really helped to transform the way that those statutory teams work for children on the register and children where the matter's before court. That has helped us in relation to bringing that specialist expertise into that team and to help stabilise the workforce in that team. And the introduction of the peripatetic team. We started with the peripatetic manager probably a couple of years ago now, and we've seen the benefits of that in terms of being able to deploy people, social workers, and a manager into parts of the service, either at times of increased demand or at times when there's, for example, maternity leave. So there isn't any gap in provision, and we don't need to go to agency. We can actually use in-house expertise to do that. So I guess the other 2 things I just wanted to point out in terms of Swansea's particular strengths at the moment in child and family is we do have a very strong prevention and early help offer. through the early help hubs, including our youth service, our integrated information advice and assistance in the academy, and the specialist advice available to families in the front door where children have additional needs or disabilities. And we were at a conference not too long ago where we were sharing our contextual missing exploited trafficked approach. We're still very much held as a very example of really good practice in Swansea in relation to not just our prevention approach, but also our reactive response when things occur and we need to then look at strategy meetings and potentially children going on the register. And we have a fabulous array of teams that can wrap around families when they need to. I've mentioned some of them earlier, but the other ones that I didn't mention apart from internal therapy are our parent and child team that can work with families in the community, help them to make sure their children can remain living safely at home. Our substance use team, I was at a regional conference this morning with our director, looking at how we work better together with all agencies, voluntary sector, third sector, health, and across local authority services so that we improve the service offer and support offer for people that are using substances, adults and children. And our Jigsaw team is still very much acknowledged as sector leading in relation to the collaboration with health and supporting parents and young babies. So I think my view of our target operating model is it's looking to strengthen and enhance what we currently do, but being very clear about what we're aiming towards so that people are buying into that vision. And I think our staff teams do very much buy into that and continue to be as creative as they can within the resources that we have available. I think it's very, very important for us to think about the offer that we have for adolescents at the moment. So our city centre hub idea, which would then bring on board services already available in the centre in collaboration. So, for example, BAROD, drug use, substance use services, I think will be key to us to have a better offer for adolescents, both those that are open to the service and maybe also those that present as homeless. We have a really good, strong relationship with our housing service colleagues. And we have embedded within our statutory teams the family support worker roles alongside social workers, which I first introduced long after I joined Swansea because we were struggling with recruitment of social workers. So in collaboration with Welsh Government and other local authority heads of service, we considered, well, what is it the social workers must do in line with legislation? And what could other alternatively qualified staff do to alleviate that burden, but also bring extra capacity? But that model has actually added value to the work we can do with families. And we had some excellent feedback about that role in our fostering inspection not too long ago. So I'm very hopeful about the future of our service, notwithstanding being very realistic about the challenges that we're going to face, not just resource, as in local authority finances, but also the grant availability, but also the wider picture that there are capacity and challenges within police and other public sector colleagues. So, but the key to us continuing to move forward will be being open and continuing the dialogue, continuing to work in partnership with others, most importantly, children, young people and families, but being clear with our key decision makers, particularly in the local authority, about what the challenges are and offering solutions to those challenges, which I think we're very good at doing in our service. I think that's all I wanted to say, Chair. And so hopefully that's explained the myth that was, we keep talking about this target operating model. What is it? It's about our aspirations for how we bring alive our vision and our strategic objectives really over the next 3 years.
Okay, thank you, Louise. Thank you, Julie. I'm going to ask members now if they've got any questions. Funny enough, I'm not seeing any hands going up. Oh, perhaps I'm wrong. Mike, sorry, Mike.
That's okay. Thank you ever so much, Julie and Louise, for that presentation. Really helpful. And it's quite heartening to hear, the positive news that's coming through. I just wanted to ask one brief question, and that was how would you rate your working with colleagues in education? Because clearly, children and family issues are sometimes picked up and highlighted within the education sector, within schools and so on. How would you rate the kind of cooperation and working with education colleagues in that context, in being able to kind of see this target operated model being able to operate?
Thanks, Councillor. Using our scaling of 0 to 10, the signs of safety, I'd certainly put us at a strong 7 to 8. In my time here, which is just gone 5 years, our working relationship with education colleagues and schools has improved tremendously. We now collaborate much more readily, both strategically and operationally, and we seek to work together to ensure that children are positively engaged in learning, both those that are under 16 and when they're 16 plus. And I think we have a lot of strengthened working relationships and processes in place. So they're part of my hope, I guess, for the future. I went to a workshop quite recently with them about their approach to thinking in relation to children's behaviour in schools, and it was really heartening to hear we're talking the same language, we're thinking that in the same way, and how we can work together with education colleagues to support schools and to support children in schools and to work alongside parents. So very hopeful.
Kevin, you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. You say 17 fostering homes per year. When does your year start and finish, and how many homes so far, please?
So we go from, it's a financial year, so 1st of April to 31st of March. I'm sorry, Councillor, could you repeat the last part of your question? I didn't quite catch what you said.
Yeah, sorry. You say
right,
17 fostering homes a year.
Yeah.
When did your year start and finish?
Yeah.
How many homes so far?
Oh, so far this year, we have approved, I think 12. 12 comes to mind. I'll have, I can actually confirm the data if that's okay, Chair, and include it in the reports. But we in terms of keeping a track of households that are coming through, going to panel for approval, the information I've seen will show that we will achieve the 17 this year with the presentation of all those households to panel well before March next year.
Sorry, I didn't quite understand that. When you're talking about 12 then, are you talking about
12 households? So that when we say households, is because there may be one foster carer or there may be 2 foster carers in the household. So we talk about fostering households as opposed to foster carers, if that makes sense. No, so residential homes, we are looking to bring on, we've got, I'll have to open the report again now, but we're hoping to bring on stream. I haven't got can I just open the report again? Is that okay? Right, so in terms of our fostering households, those are our foster carers. And then our in-house residential care, we're looking to acquire 5 more properties this year, which will we'll have an additional 11 beds. But I don't think all of those, so we currently have 5 beds internally, but I don't think we'll realise the full 11 available to use this year, because you can appreciate going through the acquisition and then any refurbishments that may be needed. I'm confident we should have at least half of those available for use before the end of the financial year, but we're in the process of project planning that detail with corporate colleagues so we can map that out more accurately, which I'll be sharing to Louise in our next briefing.
Okay. Okay, Kev?
Thank you.
Okay. Sue?
I think Mark was before me, Paxton.
Okay, carry on, Sue. I'll happily go after you. No problem.
Thank you. Thank you again for the presentation. The central city hubs, where are they going to be established? And is that replacing what was information?
Oh, okay, so we so I'll answer the last part of your question first. So we're looking to, this started acknowledging that we needed to relocate our youth justice service following an inspection which identified that the one site, which is in the Forest Fack area, is not really fit for it couldn't maintain it being fit for purpose. So we've got 2 buildings that youth justice service is in at the minute. One that's behind the police station, is more of an admin office space, and then we have the Forest Fack. So those 2, and then Information as well would be part of that offer. And in Information, we have Barrod, Housing Options, use it as a drop-in space. We have our NEAT team there and our Base Plus team. And then we are in talks with CAM's colleagues who are next door to Information to see whether they might want to take up some space there as well. So it's a bit of a drop-in place for young people, bringing existing services together from across the council. So we are in negotiations for a city centre site, which hasn't yet gone through the full approval process.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether we
can say what it, and also
that was yes or not.
I don't want to jinx it if I'm honest. But we're very hopeful. I've used that word quite a few times. Don't wish to overuse it, but I'm very optimistic that the this latest, we have identified sites previously, but then this are not to be suitable. So I'm very optimistic that this latest one will go ahead, and that will become one place in the city centre that our young people will be able to utilise if they're homeless, they want to see the social worker, pop in for some advice with a barreled worker, or pop in and see some housing options people. So I'm very excited about that, as are the teams.
But we'll bring forward something as soon as we possibly can that will give you know, for reassurance, and yeah, I think it's going to be a really fantastic opportunity really to have that one-stop shop really for young people's services in the city centre where young people like to be.
I look forward to that. We'll have a visit then. And Mark?
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks for the report, Julie. With the town centre complex, would that include accommodation as well? Because I believe, you know, there would be inherent dangers of having such an institution in the middle of town with all its distractions. And secondly, I do keep banging on about fostering and the advertising and open day displays. Is there anything planned that the councillors could get involved with? Thank you.
So to answer your last question first, I can find out the detail. There's lots of things planned, so I can find the detail of that, and we can share that. So thank you for that offer. It's very kind of you. And then in short answer to your first question, it's not going to be accommodation. It's just purely going to be drop-in. It may be extended hours and not just a straightforward 9 to 5, because we tend to run events for young people like after 5, but not late into the evening. A bit similar to that which the YMCA do. They run clubs and events for young people in an evening, maybe sometimes, but not accommodation, no.
Great, that's an excellent idea. Thank you very much.
On the first one, to say it'd be great, Councillor Tribe, if well, all councillors, there's the Foster Wales Swansea Facebook page, for example, which has got, you know, all the information about their marketing and what events that, you know, if they're going to be at the air show or at the 10K, you know, all those kind of things where the team are. So it'd be great if members could like and share the post from that page. That'd be really helpful.
Thanks, Louise.
I look very carefully again, but I can't see any hands this time, and I definitely can't see any hands. So can I just say thank you very much for the presentation. It was really very interesting. I've said enough in the past that I think the department works very well, but you're looking to improve on that, and that's always positive. And the only query and concern I would have, basically, is around the risks and issues. And that's something that we need to be looking at. And I don't know what you have put in place or are going to put in place to try and mitigate those risks.
We have a risk register. So where with something we need to escalate, we do escalate that. So either Dave's, the director's performance and finance and monitoring, or to see it, the corporate management team. I think it's some of them we can manage. It's those that aren't really within our control. It's difficult to predict what the external providers will do. But what we can do is make sure that we continue to strengthen our in-house offer, and we continue to rely less on the need for externally commissioned care. So that is how we're looking to manage that. We have had conversations with corporate colleagues about the support that we need from them. We've got commitment from the chief executive and the director of place that's, you know, our projects will be prioritised. So that I'm confident then that we'll have a good plan in place for them to deliver. I'm as confident as I can be about the changeover to another client information system. I do know we have a good plan in place to implement that change and to support staff. So I'm hoping that will be as smooth as these things can be. It's good that our neighbouring authority, Neathport Talbot, have implemented the same system, and we can learn from their experiences, and they've shared that with us. That's good, I think. And I think that we do have a good, strong plan in place and a good offer for workforce, attracting new people to come and work for Swansea Child and Family Services, not just social workers. And we're very aware of what's happening across residential services, for example, because there's lots of new provisions being created. And so there's lots of offers out there of jobs. So I think we've got a good, strong offer and a good reputation in Swansea for how we support staff in terms of wellbeing in particular.
Okay, thank you. The only other thing I think I'd say, basically, you did touch on it as we went through, and that is the reliance that we have on grant funding. I know we're looking at that on a separate inquiry panel at the moment, so it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that. And I think you have already presented to that anyway. So we'll be interested to see, as I say, what the results of that is. And obviously, the more that we can minimise the use of grants and etc. is obviously going to be a big plus. Appreciate that. But other than that, I would say thank you very much for your presentation, as usual. Sorry, have I got another hand up here somewhere?
Thank you, Pastor.
Sue. Sorry, Sue.
Thank you. Can I just ask, you know, the new information system, is that available to the Health Authority as well? Is it a shared access?
There are plans for the Health Board to be developing a similar system, which we should be able to share and access, but that won't be straight away. But they are looking at ways by which those systems can talk to each other. And so that because I think that Swansea Health Board regional area, again, is a really good example of where we have integrated systems and integrated teams, particularly in adult services. So we don't want to lose that progress they've made in that regard. So our project plan for Swansea area incorporates the need for that to continue and to grow from strength to strength.
Thank you.
As you say, Sue, I think that's probably even more important with adult social services as things are at the moment, that's for sure. Okay, in that case, I will move on to the next item on the agenda, if I may, and that's item 8, the update from the Regional Safeguarding Board. I'm not sure who's going to lead on this, but I know Lindsay's here, so are you going to take us through it, Lindsay?
Yeah, happy to take the lead on this, Chair, if that's okay.
Thank you very much.
So I noticed the full report is in the agenda pack, so I've pulled together a bit of an overview to work through. So just background information, the West Glam Safeguarding Board was established to promote, inform and support multi-agency safeguarding for children and adults across both Neathport Talbot and Swansea. The board are key statutory mechanism for agreeing how organisations will cooperate to safeguard and promote the welfare of children and adults living in the region. And it is a multi-agency forum bringing together representatives of each of the main agencies and professionals who are responsible for helping to protect children and adults from abuse and neglect. So I've shared the annual report 24-25, which outlines the strategic progresses in safeguarding children and adults across both Neathport Talbot and Swansea as a region. And the board focuses on data-informed decision-making, citizen-led safeguarding and developing a level of regional consistency across the services delivered both to children and adults. So that covers 4 sub-main groups. One is quality, one covers performance. We've also got the practice review group, policy and training, along with our junior safeguarding board, and they also feed into our national independent safeguarding board. So over the past year, the strategic priorities and achievements have been learning from experience through practice review. So any child practice reviews or adult practice reviews, the learning is brought into the organisations, whether that be within social care, within police, within education, health, and we look at then that goes into the training forum and what training we can offer and provide to services to learn from previous practice reviews. raising awareness via National Safeguarding Week and community engagement. So this year we did things a little bit differently. We sent a questionnaire out to the community to ask them what they would like to see from the Safeguarding Board. So we had some really good responses in relation to that, and we're feeding that into our action plan for the next 12 months. We've got promoting citizen-led safeguarding with advocacy networks such as PAN and PPAS with ongoing feedback mechanisms. So PAN is the Parent and Advocacy Network, so they offer support and advocacy to parents. And we've got the PPAS service, which is the Parent Peer Advocacy Support Service. And again, they support parents of children who are through the Child Protection Conference arena. We've also delivered regional consistency in MCA, DOLS and emerging risk responses. So we are delivering that regional approach across Swansea and MPT to make sure that we are working more collaboratively together. It's been really, really exciting in terms of key developments you'll see in the report. So our innovations this year have been the multi-agency safeguarding tracker, it's an information sharing platform, which is for real-time activity and information sharing. It currently includes, so if we wanted to look up a person, we could do a search on MAST and we could see whether they've presented at A&E or whether they've had any missed appointments through health or whether they've had any involvement with any services within social care. And we're looking to onboard other agencies such as probation and also looking at how we can populate information from police PPNs, because we know that's not going to change, but how can we bring the information from the PPN into the multi-agency safeguarding tracker? So that's a really, really exciting opportunity that we've been working on the past year. We've also got the electronic All Wales integrated referral form. So West Glam Safeguarding Board have been leading on the national prototype for an All Wales integrated referral form. We're currently working with DocWorks to integrate the Welsh Ambulance Service and NHS data across Wales into the referral form. So rather than having several different referrals from different pathways, we have one central form, and it is built to populate the information into our front doors and use that. So it's making it easier for those who want to refer in, and it's making it easier for us to accept that information. So by integrating these data sources, we aim to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the referral process. That's really excited. There's going to be a presentation at the annual social care conference in relation to the integrated referral form. So it's really great that our region is leading on this work. We've also had a lot of work completed in relation to the National Multi-Agency Safeguarding Performance Framework. That's a regional dashboard where all of our data sets are shown on a Power BI dashboard. Again, putting West Glam Safeguarding Board as for front runners in Wales to develop and adopt this framework. My understanding is other local authorities and agencies are still trying to work at how we can pull this data together. Across Neath Talbot and Swansea, we have created our dashboard, and we're now meeting with other organisations and multi-agencies, so from police and health, to bring in their data in relation to the data metrics. So we've got our core data, which sits with us in social care, and then we've got multi-agency metrics, which allows us to layer all of the different data so we can see it in one central dashboard. So again, that's super excited, and it's really, really good to have all of that data linked together so that we can identify any themes and trends and really focus and drill down on that to then have a specific focus around those areas of work. We've also been working on implementing the 12 Cs framework. So 12 Cs is a collective safeguarding responsibility model. It provides a clear framework for making safeguarding everyone's responsibility. It identifies 12 key elements such as clarity, collaboration and commitment that help address common challenges in multi-agency safeguarding. It is designed to support regional safeguarding boards and local authorities, and the model promotes shared understanding and stronger coordination and collaboration across services. We've also had a lot of emphasis and on predictive analytics, statistics alongside observations and practice. So we've got our quality, performance, practice, policy and training groups alongside our junior safeguarding board. And over the next 12 months, we are looking at those merging to create one central intelligence hub, which has been really good, bringing together the learning from the practice reviews, the multi-agency data sets, any themes and trends, and like I said, how do we bring all of that together from the classroom and then really embed that into our practice across the board. In terms of training and learning, Group A and B safeguarding training has been rolled out. We're also really pleased and proud to share that our Group B training that was created across the region has now been developed and adopted as a national training. So that's really good for us. Group C multi-agency training day, we had over 100 professionals attend. So that was really good to share examples of good practice across safeguarding. And we've also had feedback highlighted professional curiosity and collaborative learning. So in terms of practice reviews and outcomes, we have sadly had 2 practice reviews. We've had 3 adult practice reviews and a single unified safeguarding review. And that is for the year 24-25. We have now moved over to this single unified safeguarding review. So rather than being identified as an adult practice review or a child practice review or domestic homicide, they all come under the same framework together, and they are fed through the regional safeguarding boards and then allocated out. In relation to collaboration and participation, we've had strong engagement from police, health and third sector partners. Education services also contributed to audits, training and forums, and we have really strong collaborative training across the board. Police, health, probation and APB partners reported their safeguarding activities into the board, again, which enable us to utilise this data to identify any themes and trends. We have some really good partnerships. If I go to Junior Safeguarding Board, we've had campaigns on sexual harassment and mental health. Those have taken place across the past year, and there are also plans to restructure and expand our youth engagement across the region. So to conclude, we are advocating for a national shift to a data-driven safeguarding with a more targeted approach and ethical governance that is fair and proportionate. And the board has and will continue to deliver digital transformation across safeguarding. There's been some huge developments over the past year, and we're hoping that they will continue. It also calls for a unified system and proactive leadership to protect vulnerable individuals and ensure our safeguarding processes continue to be effective across the region. So it's not really a topic that everybody likes to talk about, but it's been a really exciting year for our regional safeguarding board. Has anybody got any questions in relation to the report?
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you also for making sense of what was quite a heavy and weighty report. I'll say a bit more about that afterwards, I must admit. But let me ask members if they got any questions at this stage, please. Sue.
I think it mentions in the report some projects for the young people, calm minds and woodland learners. Can you give us some information on those, please?
I don't have the specific information in relation to the projects because they would be managed by the junior safeguarding boards under a different subgroup. But I can certainly get more information about those projects over to the councillors so that you've got that information.
That would be interesting. Thank you.
Lovely. Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? You're going to get away like here if you're not careful, I'm afraid. But obviously, it's a very weighty report, and conclusions sum it all up. So I was concentrating more on the back page than I did on the rest of the report in many ways, I think, but that's another story. But the challenge is that having defined the requisite changes to enhance safeguarding, to ensure improved safeguarding is delivered, you have now obviously done that. Got to make sure that you both you deliver, and performance panels will want to see beneficial improvements, I think, being delivered for both adults and children. So I think we'll look forward to that coming forward to us in future months, both the Adult Social Services Scrutiny Committee and this one as well. So that'll be interesting to see, and we will look forward to that with interest, I think.
Lovely, thank you, Chair.
Okay. Do you want to say something, Julie?
I think that my main observation would be, and I'm thinking what David would say if he was here, but it'd probably be something along the lines of we do have a really strong partnership arrangement in our regional safeguarding board, and we have strong governance arrangements. And we had recent examples where matters were escalated to the board when decisions were taken by one particular partner, which other partner agencies were concerned about the safeguarding implications in that regard. And we had very open and honest conversations at the board. Information was shared, challenges were made, and as a consequence of that, people were reassured and assured that partner agencies took their safeguarding responsibilities seriously, that the board was a good point of escalation, that the conversation was handled in a really measured but also open way, so that appropriate actions that were needed to be taken were taken, and then the board continues to have oversight of that. So I think that's just a recent example of the strength of the partnership arrangement that we have when it meets regularly. It also has had a number of development sessions over the past year, where it's continued to think about how ways it can continue to improve and we can continue to work better together, so that we're not complacent and think we've got it all right, because we know we haven't, because the context and the landscape continually changes, as we know. So we're very alive to that. And I think some of the systems and innovative ways of working that this board is coming up with has gained some interest nationally, and some of those we're showcasing at the national conference, as Lindsay mentioned, next month. So I think we should be very proud of what our safeguarding board is achieving, and it's thanks to the endeavours of people like Lindsay and Fionn from Adult Services that are making sure that things are progressing, and when they're not, letting the director and myself know so that we can take appropriate action where needed. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Julie. Mike, I see you got your hand up.
Yeah, sorry, it's just a very simple question in some ways. It's a West Glamorgan safeguarding board. You've presented to us as a scrutiny committee. Do you have to do the same to Neath Talbot Council, or is there an overarching scrutiny board to which you report?
Shall I answer that, Lindsay? Lindsay doesn't do it, but the same does happen in Neath Talbot. So that they receive the same report, but presented by somebody from Neath Talbot local authority.
Is there any merit in sort of a joint meeting, Paxton, do you think, just to consider this, or no, just thinking of the opposite?
Sorry, Mike.
Is there any opportunity for a joint arrangement with Neath Talbot, so we avoid the officers having to do the same report twice?
We can certainly look at that for future years or next year or whatever, Mike. Yeah, that's for sure. I don't think we'll need it again this year, but certainly perhaps we'll look for it for next year. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
As far as safeguarding is concerned, and I've expressed our concerns regularly enough for the fact that Swansea Safeguarding Board disappeared in now our West Glamorgan, and certainly when we used to have these reports before, you didn't seem to see the level of attendance that you are achieving now with these safeguarding boards. So it is, I think, good for us to be able to see that they are all the services, obviously social services, councils, health board, police and education as well, play their full part in all this, because obviously it's important. We will continue to monitor that, I'm sure, in future. So on that basis, I think it's very, as I say, a very heavy and weighty report, and there is obviously things that you're looking to do to enhance. We will look forward to seeing those come through in terms of performance in future months and years, Mike. Okay. If anybody's not got any other questions. Oh, Sue, you've got your hand up again.
Sorry. Can I just say, I think within Swansea, safeguarding has been a huge issue, and I think it's all our responsibility, and I think all councillors do take that on board. Just a comment. Not really a question.
No, I'm not going to argue with that. I think you're absolutely right. Council does take it very seriously. Obviously, one of the main policy planks, and obviously we will continue as councillors, I suppose, to do our best in that area as well. As best we can. Okay. That moves us on to item 9 on the agenda, and that's a work plan. You've seen the work plan. Obviously, we got annual wellbeing performance monitoring next month. That's going to be always interesting. But and this SQA annual report. Anybody got any questions, or are you happy with the plan as it stands? I'm not seeing any hands going up anywhere, so on that basis, I'll close the meeting and say thank you very much to everybody for the involvement in it and for the presentations that we had, and for members as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks
Bye all.
everyone. Bye.